Do you hear all sorts of things about liquidity, but you don't necessarily know what it means, or maybe you just have a job and you don't look at it? Well, I have some interesting stuff to share around liquidity with some big changes that have happened just in the last 5 days with Hex and Hedron. Very, very interesting. So we're also going to share the amount of growth in holders. This is the number of people that are holding the token according to Etherscan, both just in the last few days, but also over a longer period of time. So we get a little bit bigger picture of the growth in terms of holders, right? Because we're not looking at charts to see like this one's going this way and drawing triangles and doing all this goofy shit. But we're going to take a look at the numbers in terms of how quickly these cryptos are adding new users, right? How quickly is somebody creating a new wallet to purchase XYZ token? That is far more valuable to me than what direction, you know what I mean, how the chart is moving relative to how it was moving. So without further ado, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam. For those of you who are returning, it's good to see you. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out some links down below. But without talking too much further about this shit, let's pull up a Google sheet here. So this is one of the things that I've been tracking for quite a while now. This is from August. So this is, I think, shortly after ICOSA launch. And I wanted to track how Hedron was growing relative to Hex. And then I started tracking ICOSA and how many HSIs were sold to the ICOSA contract. And this gives us some very interesting data, right? How does the price increase? Increasing demand. So if there's a increase in the growth of the number of holders of a token, what does that mean? What does that imply? That that's probably going to perform better, right? So check this out. We're going to run through these numbers. If we look at Hedron, this is from the end of August here until today, the 26th of October. And we get to see during this time period, we've seen a 14% increase in the number of holders who hold Hedron versus, say, look at Hex, right? Same exact time frame, but we have a less than 1% increase in terms of the number of holders. Now, obviously, we have a big difference, a little bit more than a 10x in the magnitude, right? 310,000 over here, 23,000 or 24,000 over here, right? A big difference between these two things. But we also have some interesting stuff happening in the market, and I think this is very bullish, which will pull up the what's going on with Hex right now. So when you look at this time period here, right, Hedron had gained, as of a couple of days ago, gained maybe, I think it was like a 4 or 5x in price, where Hex hadn't done much up until just, you know, the last couple of days. But if we look, the last time I updated this is 10/20, right? So if you don't believe like what I'm saying about, you know, demand drives price, and the more people holding it, right, that's gonna, if that number is increasing relative to something else, and how does that affect the price? Well, check this out. This is over the last 6 days, right? So we had 23,700 on the 20th and 311,000 over for Hex. Now look at the difference here. If we actually do the math on this, it's 200 on this side and 700 on this side, right? 650. And if you look at the price, which actually, let me just pull that up real quick so you get to actually see what it is. This is going to be the price chart for Hex that we're going to take a look at here. First of all, this is Hex USDC pair. And I will try to pull this up from the 20th, right? Okay, so the 20th was right about, let's put it on the hourly chart so it'll be easier to see. The 20th was, well, that's September, October, 20th, right about there, right? Right about here was right here is October 20th. What does that price chart look like? Up and to the right. What is if we look at the data again, how can we tell this is happening, right, without looking at a price chart? Well, Hex had 700 new holders and they had been gaining very little bit, right? Like it actually went from 310 to here, less than 100. It went from 311 to 41 to 311 13, right? A 70%, a 70 holder jump there. From right here, it went up by 50. From right here, it actually went down, right? So you see these things happening, and I'm watching this, and then I see this happen. I'm like, oh, okay, well that makes perfect sense. So let's take a look at one more price chart here. Let's take a look at Hedron, right? Because we get to see this, and I'm going to explain why I believe this is happening, which also is actually very bullish. So once this loads, this is Hedron USDC on mainnet, right? So let's go through the same thing here. We're going to do the 1 hour, and we're going to take a look from October 20th, right? Let's just make this a little bit bigger so it's more fun to take a look at. Okay, October 20th is right here, right? So we get to see that it's just maybe slightly up, right? Depending on where you got in on October 20th, right here or right here, it's about even, right? In terms of the Hedron price. So if we look back at this chart again, let's see if we can get back to it. We get to see that there's a massive increase in the number of holders here. And this is growing at about the same rate, right? From here to here, it was about 150. From 356 to 556, right? About 200 here. Here was 56. Here was only 10, right? Here was 63. Here it jumped a whole bunch, but there's a bunch of days over here that I've hidden just to make the chart easier to take a look at here. But it has been growing, fairly consistently over this time period. But when you see this spike of new users coming in, then you get to be like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense why it's actually taking place. And you can pay attention to these numbers. And another one that's very interesting, ICOSA. ICOSA has been, I've been tracking since the 8th of September, so a month and 2/3. We've had 105% increase in the number of holders of ICOSA. So remember, these numbers are just coming from Etherscan. They're not incorporating any staked, or I don't know if the numbers for staked Hex, Hedron, or ICOSA are in these numbers. But what is interesting about the ICOSA numbers, the number of ICOSA HSIs, right? So this is the number of HSIs that were sold to that contract has increased since I started tracking it, right, on the 8th. It has been increasing consistently, and we have a 29% increase. 29% increase in the number of HSIs that were sold to the ICOSA contract. Yet the number of people holding ICOSA has gone up by 3x that amount. That's kind of interesting. Just like the number of the growth rate differential between Hedron and Hex is 19.5, 19.68, right? Up here in this top corner. What that means is, let me make sure you guys can still see. Okay. What that means is Hedron holders are growing at nearly 20x the rate of Hex. So now, what's going on? Why isn't Hedron moving? And this is my opinion on this, because people, right? If you look at the numbers, there's a lot more people that understand Hex, that are aware of Hex in their brain. There's a brand there of Hex that they're aware of. So what does this do? There's a lot of people that will FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, right? And they will sell one thing to buy the other thing. And that appears to be exactly what is happening right now. Now, for me, I see this as bullish. I actually just bought some more Hedron, not saying that this is financial advice or you should do any of the things that I talk about in these videos. This is just my personal opinion on this stuff. Because what happens when the Hex price goes up and people FOMO, they sell their Hedron to buy more Hex, thus fulfilling that journey of driving the price up further. And I'm not saying this is the end of the bear market or any stretch of the imagination. This could easily be a pump to 20 cents, 15 cents in Hex and then sell back off to 3 cents. Well, I don't know, right? But I do see people selling Hedron for Hex. Now, why is this important? Because, well, let's cover one other market first. POW, ETH POW. Let's take a look at this network very quickly, and then we'll come back to this. So I'm going to load Deck Screener here, so you'll be able to see what I'm actually taking a look at. What we're going to take a look at on the left-hand side here, if you scroll down to ETH POW, click on Uniswap, and you click on Hex, you get to see that over the last 24 hours, Hex is up 63%, right? That's pretty good. That's good. That's great. Up 63% on ETH POW, right? This is the fork of Ethereum. Well, let's check. Let's go back and take a look and see how Hedron is doing. So let's pull up Hedron. So again, this is on ETH POW here. And look at this. This is the hourly chart here for Hedron. Look at that, up 71%, right? So interesting. On the network where there's far less people, right? These people and the people who are over on POW, in my opinion, are slightly more sophisticated in the sense of knowing how to use crypto, because when you're over on 2.0, right? That's where everybody goes. To go into other areas, it's slightly more challenging. Like ETH POW, there's a lot of people who don't understand ETH POW or how to get to ETH POW or have any desire to get over there. But what we do see is we see a tracking of Hex and Hedron, right? They're both up. One's up 60+%, the other one's up 70+%, right? Interesting, right? What else, when we take a look at this, is not happening on 2.0? Well, we see a divergence, right? Hex is going like this, and Hedron is going like this, right? Sideways. That's good, because when Hex goes up, as we were talking about, HSIs go up, right? Let me shut this down for a second. HSIs. So you can take your Hex, you can place it into a smart contract, and then you can sell that smart contract to the ICOSA contract. Make sure this is working properly. USB condenser. Okay. And when you understand that those HSIs are Hex, and people clearly, when we look at the numbers, right, there's more holders of Hex than there is Hedron, even though their Hedron is growing at about 20x the rate of holders of Hex, right? So when we see that, and we see the divergence in the price, and we understand that there's a boatload of HSIs that are coming to the market, what is this going to do, right? We just looked at the numbers. There's about 6,500 HSIs that are going to come to the market over the next 2 months or so. That's a lot. What is that? That's Hex. So that means that 6,500 HSIs that carry some amount of Hex are going to be on the market. And if the price is up in Hex, that means those HSIs are more valuable, right? It's not super hard to understand that. If it is, let me know in the comments. What does that mean? Well, these are about to come up for auction. Hedron is the only way you can pay for those things. The only way you can buy that Hex, which is the same as another one. But remember, it's not there's a lot of people who don't understand what I just went through. If you're watching this, you probably are aware that you understand this. And there's other people, your friends and the people you follow on YouTube or TikTok or on Twitter probably understand this. But the people who are aware of Hex are much greater than that. A lot of people don't understand that. So there could be some massive price movements here. What I think of when I see, as I'm watching this literally play out in the real world, is, you know, those videos where you have a dude in the gym who is has a rubber band, one of those giant rubber bands around his waist, and there's two people or it's hooked onto something, and the dude is running out there, right? And as somebody runs, they move very, very quickly, right? And then the rubber band has built up pressure, right? And it gets tighter and harder for them to go further into the future, right? Or push forward, right? And then what does it do? It snaps back, right? Well, when you look at what's happening with Hedron, people are selling Hedron to purchase Hex, artificially pushing that price down when you understand all the pieces that are coming together here. So I personally believe, not financial advice, and just my opinion on this, I think that now, between now and the end of the year, between now and the end of January, there's going to be, at a bare minimum, a double on Hedron price. If not, something in the neighborhood of 5+X because of where Hex is, right? So if Hex is higher, then that means there's a greater potential for Hedron. So if Hex is instead of at 3 cents, it's at 5 cents. Cool. That just means that instead of Hedron just having a double or the capacity to hit, say, a 10x or 12x, now it has the double and the capacity to hit a 16x because the price is higher, right? I ran through those numbers in a different video. If you want to see those again, I'm happy to pull those up. If you enjoy the content, or if you know somebody else in crypto, if you know somebody else in Hedron, if you know somebody else in Acosa or Hex, take a second. There's a little arrow down here. Press that. Share this video with them. Appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you soon.